Canada's fabled embassy in Tehran first went dark in 1980, post-revolution, after staff spirited 6 American diplomats out of the country using fake Canadian identities and then followed them out. The second time, in 2012, staff again destroyed sensitive documents, quietly shuttered the same offices, and slipped out in groups to different destinations, this time over security concerns and disapproval of Iran's policies. A vital channel between the West and Tehran was severed, given up, along with the keys. Now fast forward to the 2015 election when the Liberals promised to reopen the embassy in the name of engagement and dialogue. And last year as government, it dropped the warning against all travel here. And Canadians have been coming here. We've met them. But the relationship between the two countries isn't fully mended. And that comes with a price. Since the Canadians left, Iran has taken a road thick with possibilities. International negotiations leading to rare international agreement to ice Iran's nuclear program in exchange for lifting sanctions on key state-owned sectors like the oil industry. Russia, China, Europe, and the US were on board.
The good news is that there is a solid agreement in place, and according to all the watchdogs, it's working.
As a result, Iran for the West was suddenly open for business. Some are calling it a gold mine. Foreigners rushed in, tens of billions in contracts signed, with the likes of Airbus, even with Boeing in the US, the biggest with a Western company since 1979.
This is a country full of opportunities.
Canadian-Iranian Cyrus Rezaghi moved here years ago, hoping to see something just like this.
I think overall the direction is right. An example was Airbus. We took the first aircraft after almost 4 decades. That's a good sign.
To truly appreciate Iran's renewed potential, you have to travel southwest, towards the border with Iraq, the front line in their war in the 1980s. This is Iran's oil country, home to its biggest oil field and its grandest sales pitch.
And also this is the oil processing area.
With escorts from the Ministry of Petroleum, we were invited to visit a processing facility built under sanctions with China's help, a model of cooperation Iran now wants to duplicate with Western companies.
I think about 500 or something like that personnel we have here, but it will be changed.
Reza Golhaki is the health and safety supervisor and our guide for the day.
We will be grateful to working with the Canadians as well.
Unlike Canada's, Iran's oil business is thriving. Here alone, 80,000 barrels per day and rising.
See the oil storage there, which have a 40,000 barrels capacity.
But after years of withering under quarantine, the industry needs foreign investment. It also needs new technology, the kind Canada has in spades. We first met Canadian Ehsan Gayouminia at the airport in Ahvaz, the capital of Iran's oil-rich province. He used to work in Canada's, but when the nuclear deal seemed inevitable, he moved to the country of his birth.
Figured, all these companies in Calgary are suffering and they're having such a difficult time. So I thought it was a good opportunity to help both countries shake hands and bring Canadian companies to Iran and also bring new technologies to Iran. So that way it would benefit both the countries. It is a gold mine, I'll say it again.
He started talking to Canadian companies even before the sanctions were lifted, and then after, helped them navigate a market poorly understood in the West.
I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of what I'm doing is what really the Canadian embassy should be doing here in Tehran. which is providing confidence in Canadians to enter the Iranian market, answering their questions, their concerns.
There are also concerns about the sturdiness of the nuclear deal. Hardline elements here and in the US who would rather see that deal die. Donald Trump's tougher line on Iran adds to the uncertainty. For Canadians, this is especially disconcerting. Without an embassy, lives have been complicated, Canadians in trouble harder to help. Ottawa can't have Iran's ear on human rights or anything else. And yet, beyond a meeting between the foreign ministers last fall, there's been little measurable progress. Not helped by the arrest of Canadian professor Homa Hoodfar or Trump's unexpected win. We put the question to the foreign ministry. Spokesman Bahram Ghassemi said Canada must first remove remaining sanctions.
و امیدوار هستیم که این چند موضوع باقی مانده یا مسئله باقی مانده هر چه زودتر حل و فصل بشه و تفاهم لازم به عمل بیاد و ما بتونیم حداقل در نخستین گام دفاتر حفاظت منافع دو کشور رو افتتاح بکنیم یا باز بکنیم مجدد.
In light of the nuclear deal, Ottawa did lift some sanctions last year to ease business. But Gayu Minya says it's not enough.
It's major. I mean, I think the biggest issue is that Canada currently does not have an embassy in Iran.
Ottawa and Tehran still seem far apart. And yet, at a small office behind the Tehran Chamber of Commerce, there's just enough hope. The Iran-Canada Chamber of Commerce is stirring back to life.
Every week, every minute, every month, we expect the relation will be established.
They want to bring back the 2,500 members they once had, when Iran was one of Canada's biggest trading partners in the region.
My visa was 3 years, multi, 2 years, multi. It was very easy. It was no problem. Now very difficult. I have to go to Ankara, I have to go to Dubai. So that's not good. I'm not going.
Canadians have the problem in the other direction. Yet Gayu Minya's idea seems to be working. He now has several serious Canadian clients, but the challenges have multiplied too.
My number one priority is to dismantle the disastrous deal with Iran.
President Trump is an unforgiving critic of the nuclear deal. He's called it the worst deal ever made, a cash infusion for the terrorist groups Iran finances.
This deal is catastrophic for America, for Israel, and for the whole of the Middle East.
When he was elected, the White House's posture on the deal it helped negotiate changed overnight. Iran points out all the world's major powers signed on, and they did, giving new life to the oil industry and putting aside long-time concerns about who owns what in Iran and whom exactly the lifting of sanctions benefits. Its atomic energy chief and vice president told CBC News if the U.S. violates the deal, then Iran could easily restart its nuclear program.
We will deliver whatever we have been committed to, that for sure. And we expect the same thing from the other side. I think both countries have to take this opportunity seriously to not to destroy the trust which is being built up.
Please come forward. We're going to start in about 10 minutes. Thank you. Take a seat, gentlemen.
The collapse of the deal would be dire and would multiply the region's tensions. But Tehran presses on with its ambitious sales pitch. Razagi helped put on a well-attended automotive conference. But for foreign investment, the Trump effect has been an unmitigated chill.
For companies who wanted to come to Iran until the presidential elections in the U.S. And then now is the attitude of the foreign companies and investors is like wait and see.
Next, Trump included Iranians on a list of banned migrants. Then 9 days into his presidency, Iran tested a new ballistic missile. Trump put Iran on notice. Those with business ties to the U.S. hesitated, and some got cold feet, including 2 Canadian companies in talks with a private oil firm, one on the very day Trump was elected.
They are afraid of they jeopardize their investment. They deny to continue our relations, so they somehow stop the relation with us, or at least they said for time being we prefer not to continue the situation as it is.
The Trump effect seems to also be influencing Ottawa's decisions on Iran and its advice to Canadians seeking to do business here, according to sources familiar with the conversations. A spokesman for Global Affairs said Ottawa's commitment to re-engage hasn't changed, but that its approach to Iran has always been cautious and incremental. Canadian companies also need to approach the market cautiously with due diligence on ongoing Canadian and UN sanctions. And while Iran remains a country of serious concern, he said, Canada prefers dialogue over withdrawal, so it's willing to have discussions with Iranian officials. No doubt, Canada's decision to reach out to Iran was easier when world powers had a consensus. What to do now when insiders are warning Canada's biggest trading partner could clamp down in a way that might jeopardize the nuclear deal?
Unfortunately, Canada, I feel like they've always been a follower to the decisions and the policies of the United States.
Canada and Iran must still negotiate the terms of restoring ties. Canadians, meanwhile, might miss out politically and economically. One look at the traffic to and in Tehran, and it's clear Europe is well ahead in both.
Canada can be a great partner. It's just some practical issues like not, having high-level diplomatic relations that need to be addressed before, practical business can happen on the ground.
For Canada, regaining some influence here could be the payoff for engaging Iran, but not at any cost. So, promises aside, don't expect it to happen quickly. Nala Ayed, CBC News, Tehran.